Marfoogle TV going live in 3.
Is it World War III? Maybe it's 4. I can count on one. One side just dropped us.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Right, to get into it, we have, of course, Putin offers a temporary nuclear control deal to prevent new arms race. Do I believe this? Absolutely not. And if you have been following this, and if you've been following all of the peace talks of every single country, all of them are put out so that the public image of a country can seem like they're trying to do the right thing. At least that's my opinion, but they're actually trying to do something else. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday offered President Trump a temporary nuclear arms control deal that would extend the status of the quell by 1 year at the moment of the future of the new strategic arms reduction treaty, or New START. During a meeting with permanent members of the Russian Security Council, Putin said that he was ready to extend by 1 year the last arms control treaty between, of course, Washington and Moscow. Reuters reported that this would allow time to negotiate its further extension, likely by another 5 years. This would be if the U.S. reciprocates to prevent a new arms race. Mind you, almost all of the different countries around the world are either advancing or revamping their nuclear arsenal, and most are, of course, lying about it. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the 1,000 soldiers that they're expecting to come into the hospitals in Germany. We're going to talk about the massive cyber attack that is predicted. And this is at a time where there's chatter about almost every other incident happening. Now, you can't take all chatter at face value, but one thing I will say is it's all lining up for this year. We will, again, be back in just a second, right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Right in the middle of a war. Is it World War III? Maybe it's 4. I can count on more. Kept us, popped us, right in the middle of a war. It's 4. I can count on more.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Before we get into the weeds of everything else that's going on, I do want to bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
What is going on, Blue and Ham Nomad? What is happening? Funny Doers International, Annie Oakley 777. We've got Scrappy Dappy Doo. We've got members, Funny Doers International. Thank you again, Briar Patch, Angelo Perfelli, John Baldwin. Thank you, Rhyme Stranger. We've got Nacho Man Randy Sandwich, one of my favorite screen names. Again, Sweatin' Ministries. We have, of course, Michael. Thank you so much from Serengeti, Steve, thank you so much. We have Shirley Millward, we have Sweet Rems, we have, of course, Scottish Stevie, Carol, what's up, Jeffrey Woolidge, and so many other good people. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so secondly, we've got 1,000 injured soldiers expected in Germany. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, Adam, everywhere across Europe now, it seems like there is this push to prepare and get ready for the injuries and the output of war, whether it was in France, as we've talked about before, or having the the front lines moving through and the wounded soldiers coming back through those lines in this war with Russia that they're predicting. Germany is now putting out the same message to theirs to get ready to deal with up to 1,000 soldiers every day. 1,000 a day. That's huge. That's a very large number, and that's just wounded. So they're warning that is what they're expecting when this happens. And, it's not just Germany, it's France, it's every country there. We're going to continue to see these types of actions happen as they're building up to the inevitable, which is this kickoff of a conflict between, the rest of Europe and Russia.
Now, they said that as part, that picture has a quadriga. I wanted to know what the heck the meaning of quadriga is. Quadriga. I know it's just with a picture they used of it, but it was one of their major drills. A quadriga is a car or chariot drawn by 4 horses abreast and favored for chariot races in classical antiquity in the Roman Empire. The word derives from the Latin quadrigae, a contraction or 4. In Latin, word is almost always used in plural and usually refers to the team of 4 horses, like the 4 horsemen. So I just want to point that out. The article here says German soldiers take part in the Lithuanian German division level international military exercise Grand Quadriga 2024. Like the 4 horsemen kind of thing. The great, I don't know. That sounds like, I don't know. It gives me the Great War, the 4 horsemen. Again, this is just multiple countries, and by the way, I wonder if they ran out of budget here. They didn't have enough money for ghillie suits, so they were like, can you just settle for the helmet? Maybe they won't spot your head in the desert. It looks like they're on like desert with their head pointed out in green. Just pointing that out. Either way, it's quite serious though, because now you have so many of these things lining up all at once. It's absolutely insane. There's just been chatter this entire year. 2025 has been chatter year, and it's all lining up for the next 12 months. Now, Russia accuses Estonia of airspace incursion falsity to stoke tensions. So really, the whole point here is Russia is now saying that it's completely false, that all of this is being made to start a war. Now, if they're right, let's devil's advocate here for a second. If they are telling the truth, would people believe it? Well, the thing is most people do believe NATO is trying to get into this war. Some people look at it as a reset of sorts, that this is all meant to get us into a war that would somehow make it easy to change things, to put the global order and to rearrange it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But again, they say that Russia, of course, Russia has said that its military did not violate Estonia's airspace, accusing Tallinn of having no evidence to support its assertion, as deep-seated concerns rise about whether Moscow's war in Ukraine will spill over into the neighboring European countries. When asked about Estonia's allegation on Monday, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov accused the Baltic nation of making up false claims. It says, quote, we never heard in the Estonian statement that they have objective monitoring data to back up their claim. That is why we consider such words to be empty, unfounded, and a continuation of completely reckless pattern. Now, I'm just wondering if they have like a new jet that they know can't be seen or something, and they're saying this because they're like, oh yeah, show us the data. Whereas somebody in person go like, hey, there's a Russian jet. Go ahead.
Well, what about the GPS jamming and the fact that Russia tries to use its own GPS systems? I think they could probably come up with their own excuse and or evidence to suggest that, hey, no, we weren't wrong. Our GPS says we're right. We don't, your GPS is wrong.
Yeah, good point. They could say, no, our GPS actually says that we're over on our side of the border, even though it was, right above the German capital. No. But yeah, it says that's why we consider such words to be empty, unfounded, and a continuation of completely reckless pattern of escalating tensions and provoking a confrontational atmosphere. Either way, the world has been, just sitting on edge for 5 years now. I mean, during CV, we were all concerned about the virus. And now, of course, the world has moved on into World War III. I do truly believe that this is going to happen. This isn't something that can go backwards. When you have permanent, partnerships made like this, and you have these kind of teams working on this kind of stuff in every single country, there's no way that they're going to be able to go backwards from this time. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, I mean, do you think if Putin intentionally did this, which he likely did, just like he likely did it with the drones, because he's trying to push and see what will happen, what the reaction is. It's one of the first steps you would do before you, as you think you're about to get into a conflict, is to test the reaction of your enemy. So let's say he really did it. If he really did it, would he even admit to it? It's one thing to admit to it to a friendly. It's one thing to admit to it to even an adversary that you may not be in the middle of a conflict with, but one that you're right up against the edge, the brink of a conflict, or even in a conflict as it relates to Ukraine. There's no reason for him to admit it. He would say this anyway. He would say, "Yeah, it wasn't us. You're just falsifying it." That's just a standard statement, and it very likely is he did it.
Now, great comment here. Elier says, not everything, I doubt it. We are in the Feast of Trumpets. We're going home, the believers. So I want to point out there's a lot of talk as well about the Feast of Trumpets. And correct me if I'm wrong, is tomorrow. Is that, Dex, do you know if that's tomorrow? Do we know? Chat, can you guys let me know? It's the 23rd, correct? September 23rd is the date that everybody is talking about.
Well, 23rd is tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so they're saying tomorrow that some people actually do believe it is the rapture tomorrow. Now, I've covered this same kind of time period, and I believe I've covered this same kind of event. There are certain churches that are kind of betting everything on it. There are certain people that actually are not saying it might happen, that it will happen. So I was kind of surprised by that. Dex, have you caught wind of that? There's a few major kind of people in the Christian space declaring that tomorrow is either the rapture or some sort of massive event. Now, I would go to the
not surprising, in my opinion, and we've seen it, since Christ left. We've seen everybody say that day is coming. So, and a lot of people have predicted it.
Here's the thing. I will go back to the Bible that says no man or woman or child will know the time of it happening. So there's no way, right? If a human being says, we know it's going to happen, then it wouldn't be happening. At least that's what my thought would be. But again, we will. With regards to that, what if it does line up with something else? A lot of folks are looking at the significance of just the timing and everything that's happening right now. It's really, really insane. Exactly, 100% don't set dates. Exactly, yeah. Well, I'm not, that's for sure. But I have seen a lot of that, and I hope that the rapture is not tomorrow. But if it is, I'm sure some people do hope that it is tomorrow. But I would not be looking forward to it that soon. Jeffrey Woolidge, Blop Jones, Jordan Brock, nice to see you. Digital Revolution, Teresa Gentle, Drops Homestead, and Funny Doers International says it's a maybe. It's the season for it, at least, says Longtooth. And Bobby Sue, let's see, Sweating Ministries, no man knows equals trumpets. And Nat Tate, any planetary event will likely have 2 dates. I just heard that the actual funeral took place on a bunch of celestial events. I didn't know that. I guess it was on some sort of eclipse, and it was on a few other events that lined up, like the lining up of planets, I think. And I'm paraphrasing, so I don't know. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy if you haven't already. This is an incredible, incredible, incredible generator. And they have a small batch that once that batch is gone, then it is gone. You cannot get it anymore. This is the same actual generator that just won the SBR Phase 2 and Phase 1 contracts with the U.S. Army. So there is specific specifications that the Army required. This is front-loaded in the U.S., so that you know that there's no chance that it's going to be hacked or traced or tracked or turned off on you remotely from another country. The reason I say that is so many of the actual generators online, if people are getting cheaper generators on Amazon that are solar, then most likely they are either made fully in China, or they're loaded in China, or they have a combination of the two. So again, this is something that you know is going to be good. Not to mention it's reinforced with steel, the whole frame. This thing is literally meant to freaking go on a Humvee. So this thing's built tough. It's built like things used to be built. And I actually think that even without the steel reinforced framing, the original was great, but they no longer have those right now. So again, the Flex Tactical. So these things, this is a step up from that. And it is an absolute deal right now. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Remember, once you have that head unit, then you can get batteries as you wish, and you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then add on to it over the years. But that head unit, that is what once it's gone, it's gone. So make sure to get them while you can. Some people in the Fugel family waited up to 7, 8, 9 months to get one of these when they were a full-time affiliate. Then they stopped selling to the public during that huge contract. So again, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure you use code Marfoogle. All right. And Tusk threatens to shoot down Russian jets crossing into Poland. Dex, do you want to go over that and the huge words from Tusk?
Look, we talked earlier about UK. Well, I don't actually, we didn't. We're going to talk about that later. But everybody is talking about these confronting these jets that are crossing the line. And I think this is one way to actually prove it, if they're across the line, is if they actually take them down. And that's exactly what Tusk in Poland is saying. He has gone so far as to say, hey, it's no longer escort time. It is time to actually make a decision and shoot down those flying objects when they violate our space, including planes. So, and he said there's no room for discussion here. So this is a big shift. If we see an incursion, especially in Poland, then it's very likely that could be the next, kinetic step towards expanding this war outside of Ukraine.
And he's not saying this is a maybe. This doesn't sound like a maybe. He's saying there is no room for discussion here. We will most certainly take decisions to shoot down flying objects when they violate our territory and fly over Poland. So maybe he's being technical, and if no, he's literally not. He's pretty much saying he's going to shoot down them if they come over the border. His comments came as the United Nations Security Council gathers in New York on today for an emergency meeting on Monday to discuss the latest breach in Estonia. So as they're talking about the Estonia breach, which whether it happened or not, they are now doing the Article 4 discussions for, he is stating that he will shoot it down. So at Ministries, again, thank you for the not only support, thank you for that first one I missed. Be Rapture ready. I honestly, I hope that this many people did not correctly predict it, and it's tomorrow. Seeking Truth sent 5 memberships. In fact, it looks like possibly another 5. Yeah, it sent 10 memberships. So thank you. 5 members in the chat just got a badge. Seeking Truth, thank you so much. And yourself, a member for 14 months, says Fugel Fam is the best. Thank you, Seeking Truth, and thank you for being here for a very long time, longer than 14 months. In fact, you've probably been here for at least a few years, 3 or 4 years, it seems like. All right, and then Kim Jong-un teases its new secret weapons to deter the U.S. Now, this is a trip. So Kim Jong-un, supposedly Kim Jong-un, the reason I say that is because who knows if this is actually Kim Jong-un anymore, is touting that his country possesses secret weapons developed domestically to bolster deterrence against the U.S. and its allies. Also, at a moment that Pyongyang is seeking rapid expansion of its strategic arsenal. Kim said that his country must continuously stockpile even more formidable forces capable of repelling all military threats. Now, if you noticed, if this was 10 years ago, people would not take this seriously. They would doubt it. But he's been trading tens of thousands, if not 100,000 of his people to Russia, and he's getting paid for that. He's getting different items. They have absolutely verified, at least publicly they're saying this, that he is getting weapons from Russia, and he's getting kind of paid back in either money or in weapons from Russia. He's also playing a part through North Korea. You have China sending stuff to North Korea, and then it going through North Korea and sending it to Russia. They quoted over 13,000 containers in a small amount of time that went from North Korea into Russia as far as their ammunition, and other things. So they're definitely not doing this for free. It's not a charity. They are doing it for something. Dex, I could totally see them getting some sort of hyped up weapon from either China or from Russia. But what is the secret weapon? And it's kind of ominous.
Well, yeah, it is. It's very ominous because he's not telling us. We don't know what it is. But I would think when you think about the different technology that's coming from Russia and others, it's going to be electromagnetic warfare. It's going to be EMP. It's going to be something along those lines, because that's the one thing that, he hasn't necessarily shown yet, I would think. We just talked about him getting, capabilities for nuclear powered subs, but that's not really a secret, and that would be seen even the building of new subs. So what else is he building? And he's talking about, being a nuclear state, and that he's got nuclear capabilities, which he's tested and shown before. So I kind of go back towards, electronic, whether it be laser or electronic waves, or electronic as an EMP. Even small EMP, but large high-altitude EMP, because he does launch and test a lot of ballistic missiles, which would be easy to orbit up something for an EMP.
I have a slight prediction. I wonder if they're going to launch something up into space. All of a sudden, we'll have some sort of rocket launch that supposedly goes up into space. I could see either that happening, or them telling us that, either as a kind of a thing of fear, or as, something that could be the use of a secret weapon. I think it's probably space related or something, but and like you said, electronic or EMP or something like that. They already have the potential to EMP our country with the satellite that goes over the United States, right over the sweet spot too. Samuel Turner says China will attack in days as soon as the weather clears in the Taiwan Straits. See, it's hard to say that that couldn't be true. So the stuff we've covered over the last couple months, they've loaded up their coasts, and this is unofficial. The official news is that they've actually loaded up 5 or 6 new bases on their East Coast. And as far as that goes, they have satellite images. Open source intelligence can show that all of these different ports and all of these places are just freaking loaded up. Not to mention that in the last couple months, they have now publicly said they are, going over actually putting mines by the Paracel Island, which would make that whole area. I'll just show you real quick. This is off of China in the East China Sea. They're talking about South China Sea, right here. So let me show you the map. They're talking about putting mines in this whole area from Shenzhen to off of Vietnam. They're talking about right here. Remember, they made almost all of these islands. They made them from scratch to be bases. I'm trying to find one that's an actual base here, but the Paracel Islands is where they took dirt from the bottom of the sea and built them up to be actual islands. So these things are freaking freaky, but if they're thinking about doing things like that, that would be something you would do right before you would actually take action, because you would not want the response. Samuel Turner, thank you for the support. I appreciate that. But yeah, the timing, I hope not. I would think that they would do a massive drill in the next week. If the weather clears up, they would this is my guess, is that they would probably do some sort of massive drill that's probably either announced or unannounced. They start doing a drill, and then they do what Russia did. A year later, they would come back when the conditions clear. I hope it's not 2025 that this all kicks off, because if China does theirs, I am absolutely sure of it, that everything else is going to kick off at the same time. And to add to that, where we are right now in this whole, one step away from a civil conflict between the two sides, that would be something strategically they would want if all of this is kicking off at the same time. And it seems like that's what the goal is. Speaking of which, cyber attacks that crippled the major airports, and we briefly talked about this, but there's been some big things going on in the last 72 hours. The trigger that crippled the airports could be a test of something bigger, and we keep hearing this. We actually just heard this from that other OSINT out of Pakistan. The suspected cyber attack affecting several international airports could be a test for a bigger sabotage, an expert has said. Several airports, including London Heathrow, Brussels, were plunged into chaos after having technical issues relating to check-in to boarding systems on Saturday. The issue involved a software called Muse, provided by Collins Aerospace, which was used by airlines in shared check-in desks, boarding gates, and other infrastructure. We have seen so many of these different airport hacks, and most of the time they deny that it's anything. But it has been going on a global scale at almost every airport. They've had certain events, and they essentially call it, a glitch or a software update. In fact, many systems outside of airports have had the same exact thing. And most of the time, it's not actually, brought up if it was a hack or if it was this, or it's covered up. The very few times it is told to us, they rarely ever tell us the truth. It's been on a big scale. Dex, with this happening, think about this. If the hospitals are under threat, the airports are under threat, if you got communications under threat, which we know that all of the communications and power infrastructure is under threat, it looks like this is like lining up to be the, jack of all trades of hacks, right?
Well, yeah, this particular one, they're saying if it relates to Muse, that Muse is actually industry standard and used across 150 airports worldwide. So the fact that this hit 2 airports looks like a test run. It could be a test run to check a back door. It could be a test run to use one back door, even though they have another, to do a test. And then come back and do major disruption. Imagine if they were able to stop the ability for 150 airports to do check-ins of passengers. You would have chaos. I mean, that's not the end of the world. Just people couldn't travel, but that would cause a big problem, especially 150 airports. If people could not get checked in, they couldn't get on their flights on time. Flights were all going to get delayed. Everything's going to get backed up. It can cause a major issue. And when you do that in conjunction with other events, you can create a whole lot of instability in the psyche of the common population that is having to either deal with travel or deal with hospital issues or deal with whatever, and then mix into there other types of events that can happen from lone wolves or individuals on the ground doing extreme things.
Professor Woodward said that the lack of clear information of the nature of the incident made it more likely it was some form of malicious act. He asked, if so many airports are using it, why are we only hearing about 3? It's not clear whether they did some kind of update, in which case, why did the others not have the same malware? It raises more questions than it answers. Everybody's being very quiet about it. They are just not saying anything. And when they're not saying anything, there's usually some reason behind it, especially when you're dealing with massive corporations with billions of dollars at stake and investors and everything else. He added that a lesson taken from a previous cyber attacks affecting large firms from Jaguar, Land Rover to Marks and Spencer was to be open and honest and transparent as you can, as often as you can. Previous companies targeted by criminals didn't grasp the severity of the issue until it was too late. So, and that's because other companies didn't say that it was an issue, or that they weren't upwards and forward about it, so nobody else knew about the problem. So, and I want to remind folks, if you think about everything that's been going on, and there is an entire picture here. If you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, there's on so many levels, there's something going on here. And I mean in a bigger scheme of things. Right now, the United States has our borders locked down like nothing else. And I want to remind people, the video that we just did, there was information that we should have got in there. There was other sources and there was other stuff to that, because as far as the connection between that OSINT, that Command 11, people like Dan Bongino and other leaders have actually, reiterated some of their threats before. So you do have this informal connection with some of these open source, agencies that they don't want to list because, say, it's from Pakistan or it's from somewhere else. But when you look at some of these places, they're open source in a country that is right in the thick of all of the Middle East stuff going on. So it really is something where you really got to pay attention. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'd highly recommend watching the Marfoogle News video, because this is something that we really have to pay attention to. Hospitals at threat, our cities are at threat. They are worried about missiles hitting U.S. cities. That's why the Golden Dome is even happening in the first place. They are looking at China. They are pushing farther and further than they've ever gone. You have Russia and, of course, Ukraine and Russia and NATO. You have Iran and Israel. All of that's still in play and still moving forward. And you have Venezuela. Right now, we have destroyers down there, and nobody's really even talking about that right now since Kirk. And, of course, North Korea and South Korea. North Korea today saying that they have secret weapons. This all revolves around, too, the United States right now has National Guard in several cities, and not everybody believes the official narrative. And what's even funnier, Dex, is that the documentation that we just found from one of the sources that Command 11 uses, so we went even deeper into what some of their sources are. You have the U.S., what was that, the Department of Defense? Was that Department of Defense or the Director of National Intelligence, right? Was that the director of...
I can't quote it. I didn't see it. I know you talked about it.
We don't want to paraphrase, but that document that we just looked at before the first show, or actually we looked at it on Saturday too. So that document essentially talks about the partnership between law enforcement and the president and the administration's office, and how they are basically locking down. They're making sure that Americans are safe, that everything is about the safety of American cities, and it's less about the whole drug angle, and it's more of the safety angle, which I've been saying the whole time. I mean, I think it's the most obvious answer here is we're locking down the border. They are going after certain people in our country because I think that they see something we don't. There's some sort of plan in place, and they're trying to wrangle up some of these people. It's not all, these guys came over illegally. I think that some of these, they can't tell who's the bad ones and who's the good ones, but they know the bad ones are here. Like bad ones is in sleeper cells and militaries of other countries, right?
Well, and specifically the one document that I had found and was talking about was specific to Al-Qaeda and the fact that they have had huge propaganda campaigns trying to incite events here, basically calling out for lone actors, small cell type attacks, things like that, with simple methods, not very complex things. So, but it would be a lot of little things that are happening in large crowded areas, right? And that was one of them. I think the other document was sort of the same. It was the same group, at least. It's all coming back to this Al-Qaeda name that they keep telling us and revisiting. But those were the two documents that I had found that were coming from, I think one was the DNI, Department of National Intelligence, and both of them were DNI links.
And that's the thing. Great comment, by the way. All Things Random says 3 countries have invoked Article 4. Gold is almost at $3,800 an ounce, and I'll go back to that. That is double what it was 2 years ago. The value of the dollar is literally collapsing right before our eyes. It's inflation, everything that's happening right now is crazy. World War III. So the gold thing too. The gold is something that when it goes up, that's one thing. But a few months ago, you saw gold and Bitcoin go up at the same time. You saw a massive purchases by countries, and we know it's countries because of the amount. All in one day, it was like a memo went out, like they all saw what was coming, and they did it early enough to where you couldn't connect it to what's about to happen. I mean, it was a massive, massive movement, so much so that gold and silver and metal people were like, this has got to be a glitch. Right? I think it was May 29th. I'm pretty sure it was May 29th of this year. Just a massive, massive 540 tons of gold just went out like that of future gold purchases. That's insane. And people are still saying, oh, nothing's going to happen. All of these people, you know, the government's preparing, the world governments are preparing. Of course, the infrastructure is preparing. Everybody's preparing. But yet they still tell you, oh, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Celebrities and these people are preparing. You know, Zuckerberg having a freaking $270 million bunker. People laugh at that and say, oh, he's just, you know, putting in a bowling alley underneath to be cool or something. I don't think so. I don't think he's getting pallets of food because he's not in the know. The guy literally hangs out with the top people on the food chain. So you have to pay attention to this kind of stuff. It's not just, oh, you know, the guy's putting in some cool, you know, bowling alley in his basement. I'm just blown away by how many people are not seeing this happening. And it all comes around this thing of the skeptical nature of things. We've been told so many times that it's coming that people are like, well, it didn't come every other time, so it's not coming this time. This is something that's been built up. I've inaccurately, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I thought it was going to happen in the next 2 years. But now I don't think there's a question about it. Now it lines up with what we all thought. 2026, 2027. And that's the scary part, is that this is something that cannot just not happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. So I hope that people have been preparing. I hope people that, you know, you've been getting a little bit of non-perishable food at a time. I hope that you've put money into it, even if you don't have much. Food banks and things like this for canned food. You know, use every resource you have. I know somebody that finds almost all their stuff on Craigslist. They put out ads, you know, hey, do you have any extra food? So whatever kind of way that you have to go about it, I hope that people are trying to stock up a little bit at a time if you have to. Because this is all, you know, it just keeps going in the same exact direction. Trump set to approve TikTok deal. Oracle will gain algorithm control amid CEO shakeup. Dex, this is a huge thing.
This is big. So you guys, like, you know, okay, TikTok gets saved and all the youth, cheer because they can continue to be brainwashed by this algorithm. And, you know, we go, oh, well, it's good because, you know, we don't have to worry about China owning the algorithm. But look who's going to be owning or controlling the algorithm. It's Oracle. It's Larry Ellison. So just to let you guys know, if you're not familiar with that, you know, Oracle is the foundational project for Oracle was a contract with the CIA in the 1970s to build a relational database named codenamed Oracle. That's where it started. He has a long ties, obviously, with work with the DoD and other parts of our government, and has a huge lineage of ties with the IDF, including making contributions there, as well as offering Netanyahu a seat on the board in the past, which he didn't take, but and also has an underground cloud data center for them in Israel as well. So I only say that because when we talk about things like this algorithm and we sort of go, well, great, China's not going to control it anymore. Well, does that mean our government's not going to control it? Well, we can kind of say, don't worry, it's a public company. It's this company called Oracle. They'll control it. Well, that company is tied so deeply with our government, with the government contracts and everything they do with DoD and whatnot, as well as the fact that they were, you know, born out of the CIA, so to speak, as its history says from the 70s. So, you know, put all that together and don't think it's all roses and lollipops and unicorns now on TikTok. I would suspect that we should be concerned about what happens with this algorithm and how it is used with our youth going forward. And I'm going to leave the rest of the digging up to you guys as far as where it goes. But I'm not trying to make grandiose accusations here, but you can go look it up and research it yourself. It is cause for concern.
And this is something where you have, how do you know that now certain videos that used to be able to be said on the platform, which there was a lot of weird censorship, things that you wouldn't think would be censored have been censored on TikTok. But now, watch, they censor a completely other set of things because somebody's emailing them in the background. And if you think that just because we've changed presidents doesn't mean that the whole bureaucracy underneath him isn't working without his knowledge, and even so, himself. I mean, the previous 4 years, we know that the president's office, I believe, I'm not paraphrasing here, the president's office was emailing Twitter. So you've got a situation where there was kind of a direct communication between the government and social media to essentially censor or bring stories down that were supposed to be up, and thus. So what could happen with this? The thing is if you are for free speech, you have to be for free speech, regardless of your political party. And that's the thing. I don't want this going either way, where you censor dissent of either side. That you just can't be on that side. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and is there, let's draw some correlations here. The richest man in the world last month, Elon Musk, bought X, right? And he controls the algorithm of X, which controls a lot of thought, and it also feeds into XAI. And there's just a lot of power wielding there by the richest man in the world. Do you know who became the richest man in the world at the beginning of this month? Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle. He actually is richer than Elon Musk right now. He is the richest man in the world, and now he is going to own the other large social network.
How did
TikTok.
he surpass him? When did that happen?
He dethroned him, I want to say like the first week in September, maybe second week in September. The big thing was there was a whole bunch of surge in the Oracle stock because of all the AI investments they had done, and data centers they're building out. And everybody was signing up these big deals with Oracle for, I don't know if it was Google or somebody. There was a couple of them that were buying space in their cloud for AI, and it was significant money. So it helped boost their stock significantly. And that made him the richest man in the world. So he is currently above Elon right now,
which is crazy because I didn't think he was in the top 5. Like, I know he's super rich, but I'm surprised. Some of the folks in chat are talking about the Kimmel situation. I just want to, we did have Kimmel in that previous one, but I thought it would kind of get mixed in with what we were talking about, which is a serious threat. And then you have this stupid Kimmel thing. This Kimmel thing, there's a lot of different theories, but I did post one on my Twitter, which was an interesting theory to say the least. It was a gentleman who was kind of explaining the sciences between the bands of signals going out that the FCC controls, right? These different waves that are going through these broadcast waves. And he showed kind of all of these different ways, and he showed that certain bands, that mobile was really just kind of over time growing and growing, and that the TV broadband, the broadband that the TV was using was shrinking. And these massive corporations, they only have so much broadband they can use, and really the FCC controls all that. And he goes over the history of it, that I believe it, ABC used to control both the kind of monitoring of the waves and what was on TV. So then they split that, and then they had the FCC monitor the waves, and then the FCC actually basically rents out those spaces to these massive corporations, and then they put whatever they want on them. So this whole thing with Kimmel was pressure. They said pressure from the FCC to the companies, and then the companies down to or the Nextel Sinclair down to Disney, and then all of this chain of things that happened. But the interesting theory is obviously the ratings weren't good for him, but that they were trying to axe him anyways. That they were trying to axe all of these things, and slowly that they're going to basically get rid of the regular TV that's broadcasted, and that's going to be eaten up by mobile because that's who really wants it. They want to eat that up. And his theory partly too had the whole fact that when Sprint had this huge network, that everybody was trying to vie for Sprint's mobile network, and everybody was trying to get a chunk of it. But it was an interesting theory, at least. Dex, I'm sure you probably didn't see that one.
Well, how does this theory work with what they did today?
Oh, well, and that's the thing. So now, and then there's another gentleman who I believe just went on Fox News that said, no, they are going to axe him eventually. And he even says, but next week they're going to bring him back. He's going to be the hero. He's going to come back, and that they're going to bring him back because now they look like, he was the martyr and he got put back. Now they're using it for a cultural use or something. But so they are bringing him back. They said that Disney has decided to, but nobody knows what FCC is going to do. Or I'm sorry, Sinclair and Nextel.
Well, Nexstar and Sinclair said they're still going to refuse to air him. So, so he'll be back. He just won't be on certain television areas, whatever area you're in. If you're affiliate television station for ABC, in that city is owned by Nexstar or Sinclair, you're not going to get them.
And you can go check this out for yourself. It is on the website for for the show that we just did before this. Let's see. Yeah, Disney gives Kimmel the show back. So you can go read this. That's also on our website. You can go access that at marfooglenews.com and just click on the show right before this. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is a device that can protect you against not only EMP strikes from any adversary, but it can also protect you against a Carrington level event. You can go check out, there's a ton of different devices, everything from Starlink, modems, generators, solar generators. In fact, if you get one of those Energies, they have one specifically made for it. Again, you can get it for your home. The majority that are purchased are for the vehicles. There is a vehicle version that takes literally under 10 minutes to wire in. You can do it yourself. You don't need a mechanic. It is red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground. And then you are done. You just bolt it in the side of your chassis. You're good. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It is going to ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your device. This is not a normal surge protector you can go to Fred Meyer and get. This is something that the technology and this company is outfitting DHS, DOW now, again, DOD, FBI, U.S. military. I mean, it's insane. So it is military, Keystone tested. Go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. It is made in America down to the screws. Make sure to use that code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will help our channel out at the same time. Okay, and then we have Don't Take It. Warns pregnant women about what was the other name? What's the other name for Tylenol?
Acetaminophen. So first off, this is not medical advice. Not coming from us. This is being reported in the news. So, but it is coming evidently coming from the FDA, and they have made a major announcement today that they're going to change the label on acetaminophen and update it with the concerns, and they're going to send out letters to all the doctors to have them update their patients with the concerns. And they also said they're taking another medication called Corvorin, which is a drug approved by the FDA to counteract side effects of certain chemotherapy drugs and sometimes used off-label to treat vitamin B9 deficiencies. And they're going to open that up. The FDA is going to open that up for treatment of autism. So they're saying if they can give this to children, they've seen some improvements in their symptoms of autism. So there's two things coming out today that were really big and very controversial. And again, not medical advice from this channel, just news that's coming out. You can go listen to the official sources on that, because I know that kind of information is difficult to deal with on the platform, but it's also something that's relevant to what came out. It's a really big statement from the federal government.
Did you hear about the supposed universal thing that they might be coming out with? A universal thing that everybody could take? Have you heard about the chatter about that?
I've heard about it, but I also heard him say that taking those things weren't bad as long as you took them not combined. He said, stop combining. This is the president saying it, so it's not a doctor, it's not the FDA, but he was speaking in theory from his medical team there, and in theory from the FDA, and what recommendations.
But it might be coming. It might be coming
to separate them out into individuals and not be all in one.
Okay.
He said when they were all in one, it was. He said when they were all in one, it was bad.
Okay, but my point is that something like that might be announced next. So I just think the timing of because the main argument of that is a lot of people are saying that it caused, or some things caused, autism. And now they're like, oh no, here we have absolute proof or something, or the FDA is using some sort of thing to say, no, what that was is this.
They said it was.
So again, and almost how many pregnant women were told to use that, and how many pregnant women had to use it because they were having, pain and everything else. That was the one thing they said they could take.
Right. And the other thing that they're saying you can give the kids that you're supposed to give them multiple rounds of after they're born, those things, they also said there's a problem there, but they can't identify what it is, and they're going to do the research on it. But that's why they had suggested eliminating the combinations and going to individuals as opposed to trying to cook up everything into one blast, so to speak. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm saying using certain words. Not
Tuesday, my son didn't have autism. Thursday, he did. So personally, I'm more worried about the universal thing. I'm just saying, if you get my drift. I think that there's more than one reason for it, but I don't know. I'll have to look at what they actually said that this thing was.
Yeah, and they're saying it's both. That's
okay. If they say it's both, then that's great.
They're saying it's both. They came out and said, "Hey, it's both," but they have studies, and they had even Harvard dean of medical. I'm paraphrasing, but they quoted this Harvard guy. They quoted the other people that also agreed that, hey, the studies are so clear. You ought to tell people not to do this. And that was in relation to the acetaminophen. The other thing that they give the kids, and even give adults now, they said there's a problem there, but they can't identify it yet. So they were going to spend all this money and do public research so that we'll all know and see the results, and not be these, research that's behind closed doors, so to speak.
It's so crazy. By the way, how much, if you've bought Tylenol lately, and we've always had Tylenol in our house, it's so crazy how expensive the bottles are. Even the generic now, like compared to 5 years ago, everything has just shot up so much. But I just like 2 weeks ago, I had to buy the big bottle. I'm like, wow, this is like $27 or something. It was something absurd, and I was thinking, right, when did this skyrocket? I never really got it because we would always get the big one, and we didn't buy it that often. And if somebody was buying it, it was my wife. I couldn't believe how much it cost for the brand name, and even the generic. It was nuts.
Yeah. Two things on that. So one, Johnson & Johnson sold that company a while back, like 2 years ago. So it makes you wonder, why did they sell it? And also makes you wonder who bought it if they're hating that purchase, right? When you talk about price, though, Adam, that Lucorovan, the one that they're going to approve or create the label for to be used as a treatment, where they saw kids with autism like that weren't verbal start taking it and become verbal because it helps something in the brain with folic uptake or something like that, folic acid uptake. That I looked that price up. It's only like $25. It's not expensive. I was thinking they're going to say, oh, it's this big expensive $1,000 drug that they're going to try to make tons of money on. But no, apparently it's relatively cheap.
Well, the whole thing, the jury's out on that one for now for me. But All Things Random. Thank you for the massive super. Says, sorry, it's been a while since I've been on the live shows. I've been way too busy lately, and our time zones don't quite match up. Here's a little bit to help to make it up. I always appreciate all of the effort you take to put into the show. Keep it up. Well, thank you, All Things Random, and no worries. I totally get it. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you, Frank Walls, Randy Man, White Roses, WizGen, Kathy Piana, Seeking Truth, and Bobby Sue for going out and thanking. It's absolutely wild. All of the different kind of, these just huge blockbuster kind of things that are coming out right now, all in just the last 2 years. And then Rico KGB, Fuentes was right about the BLM. I don't know the claims, so I would have to look. And then Samuel Turner and Becky Benton, thank you for joining the fam. And then, again, make sure to go check out Jace as far as, I don't know about Tylenol, but I do know as far as antibiotics go that most of them are made in China. And if things do go south with them, you definitely want to have a backup supply of them. That's exactly what Jace does. It gives you a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics, all in one handy kit. Again, go to marfuglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that is going to give you a kit of not only the antibiotics, but you can also add things in. There's a whole list of add-ons, including say, hey, we've got a asthmatic in the house. We need a thing of albuterol. You are on a call or on a video call with a board-certified doctor, and you can say, hey, this is it, and he can actually add it in. So go to marfuglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. All right. And as far as we will confront Russian planes in NATO airspace. This is according to the UK Foreign Secretary says, and warns Putin risks an armed clash as it happened. Dex, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, certainly. So it's not just Poland, it's also the UK. So, they're talking about it too. They're saying that they're going to, anywhere in NATO airspace, engage with these planes. Now, they didn't go so far as to say they're going to shoot them down, which is what Poland said. But it sounds like they are ramping up this whole idea about engaging these planes quickly, especially in this space. And, it's probably not that far off to think engagement means at least lock on, if not, pushing that button and sending a sidewinder.
Well, it's not like they would ever not escort them anyways. They already escort if they ever come in.
Exactly. So if this is an escalation, then it means it really means kinetic. But he just, like I said, he just didn't use the words that Tusk used. Tusk said, "We're taking them down out of the sky, no questions asked." And now the UK is saying, "Hey, we're doing it anywhere in NATO. With the UK is going to do it." And if we need to confront planes operating NATO airspace without permission, we will.
He said, I say to President Putin, I say your reckless actions risk a direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. Our alliance is defensive, but be under no illusion we stand ready to take all steps necessary to defend NATO's skies. Now, it says we are resolute, and if we need to confront planes that are operating in NATO airspace without permission, then we will do so. Donald Tusk, of course, on the other side, says we will shoot them down. So you've got two different parties saying it. And this is something like where you obviously it's they are literally setting up for a potential Fantastic Freddy to happen, where you've got a Russian plane go over and they shoot them down and they say this is an act of war, or they are setting it up so if Russia actually does come in, they shoot it down, then Russia says this is an act of war and this is World War III. Either way, not a very good place to leave this sitting here. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, everybody that made it. Make sure to go and check out your mods over at marfuglenews.com/friends. You've got everybody over there, from Bones all the way down to Wages. And, of course, thank you, Rip Curl. Thank you, Jammer. Thank you again to Ilea. Thank you, Bobby Sue, for holding it down there. Chance. And everybody else, thank you so much. Jammer1, Guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for your service tonight, Dex.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Right in the middle of a war. Is it World War III? Maybe it's 4. I can count no more. One shot just dropped us, popped us right in the middle of a war.